Well, hey there, Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here, but you can call me Pajama Grandma. In case we haven't met yet, go ahead and put hashtag pajama in the comments below so now it's the first time you're being exposed to the Pajama Grandma. I am the Pajama Grandma on purpose, and I think I've probably mentioned that before, but if you've never met me, you'll notice I've got a cozy blanket around me, my soft and cozy robe, and that's for a lot of reasons. Right now I think I'm getting a cold, my throat's all cloggy. It's that time of year. It's cold outside, and we're in and out of the heat and the nice warm house and the cold outdoors. And just like in the summer, when you go in and out of air conditioning, the same thing happens in the winter. We go in and out of the heat, and it just wreaks havoc on my throat, especially when I'm trying to talk and do videos and things like that, or audios, podcasts. Today, I want to talk a little bit about forward progress and momentum and action and the results that we get once we start putting things in motion, even when we're knocked off our track for a little bit of time. I'm involved in a really big project for last week and this week. And in spite of that, I realized that I was still able to set up. So here's just one example. On my LinkedIn, I got 8 people set up for interviews for the Pajama Grandma podcast. 8 people when I couldn't really spend any time looking for people or trying to find people or interviewing people. I also got, I think, 100 new connections on LinkedIn. And that's just people reaching out and becoming connections or accepting my invitation without me doing anything to actually go out and look for. And you know, normally every day I'll be sending out a couple of invitations to people to invite them to be a part of my network on that social media platform, LinkedIn. And this week I wasn't really able to do that very much, but I still had like 100 new connections. I personally think that's pretty awesome. And I can't do anything with that on Facebook because I'm already at the 5,000 limit. So I kind of don't worry about Facebook at all because that's already set in motion. I did do a 5-day challenge, which was really fun. And again, it's reminding me that I need to take my challenges, which are way over the top, too much, and I need to pull out the 5 best days and the 5 best lessons and put them into a 5-day challenge format so that I can attract more people to the 30-day challenge. Because if you want to supersize and grow your business, you're really not going to do it in 5 days. But what part of that can I pull out that's the most attractive that would bring people into saying, okay, this is awesome. I am going to do this 30-day challenge. I can devote 30 days to making my business better and to getting the framework in place that will ensure that I get the success that I want. So I'm thinking about that a little bit. Thinking about communication style, and how we talk to one another and how we treat one another. And the importance of that. The importance of knowing that we all approach things from our own perspective. But we need to remember when we're communicating with other people that it's not just about us, it's about them too. I just did a little piece on that for my Supersize Your Business share today. And so that's pretty in the top of my mind. And I just find it fascinating how certain processes and certain systems work and how certain organizations and certain industries work and how absolutely, utterly dysfunctional some of them are. And then within each of those industries, I mean, I've been in several different industries in my lifetime, in my career. I'm old, right? So I've had a lot of experiences. And some of them, some environments and some industries are so nurturing and so positive and so supportive and so wonderful. And other industries are just plain heinous and terrible and bad for people. Let me give you a couple of examples. Network marketing, whether you love or hate network marketing, whether you've been involved in it or not, it's an industry that is got a solid foundation in or based in personal development. It is some of the most positive, encouraging, motivating, supportive environments and industries I've ever seen, and businesses I've ever seen and worked with. They love people and they build people and they encourage everyone to become the best version of themselves so they can sell more of their products, of course. And that's perfectly fine. It doesn't matter. The piece of the network marketing industry that I admire is that they are so into helping people be independent, become themselves, be the best person that they can be to achieve the success that they want, because that's all we can ever do is achieve this success and the level of whatever it is that we want. So I love that about that industry. MLM, network marketing, again, whether you love it, whether you hate it, that is a really cool thing about that industry. The personal development industry, and don't get me wrong, that is absolutely positively a billion-dollar industry. I love that because it's all about people getting better, being better, doing more, having more, because they become the person that can accept that into their lives. So I love that. But then there's other industries. I come from an engineering and manufacturing background, and those industries with the unions and the rules and the guidelines and the you can't touch a piece of newspaper if it falls on the floor type things, super dysfunctional. Very bad for human beings and human psyche and human anything, because they are so negative, so rule-based, so judgmental, and just plain goofy sometimes. I mean, some of the things that you can and cannot do in different organizations, and it's not necessarily a written down rule or guideline, but the paradigms or the beliefs or the culture of that organization or that industry is so laden in false beliefs and limiting beliefs and scarce and lack mentality that it just stifles people. It stifles the human beings and their creativity, and it gets people believing that they have to conform to this little box or they won't be successful. Now, I had a lot of that early on in my career. I worked for some very big corporate organizations, and it was never stated. It wasn't in the employee handbook. All they had extensive employee handbooks of all the rules and what you could and couldn't do and what you could and couldn't say, and what you could and couldn't wear. But those were more cultural guidelines or expectations that were never really shared with you, but you were expected to dress like everybody else. You were expected to talk like everybody else. You were expected to conform like everybody else in that organization. I remember one of my first jobs, I got called into human resources to have a discussion about using the phraseology, you guys, or you gals, or girls or boys, because I grew up in Wisconsin, a small town in Wisconsin, where we say, hey, you guys, what's up? What are you doing, you guys? But I had to go talk to human resources in this organization because they said it was inappropriate. And it wasn't from my team. No one on my team cared that I said, you guys, hey, what's up, you guys? Because my team was about, I think I had 4 women on my team, my first team. And nobody on my team complained, but some other manager in this organization, I believe it was my boss's boss, heard me say, you guys, once to a group of people that I came up on. And so she went to human resources, and I had to have a discussion with human resources about you guys. And so since I'd lived in Texas for a few years, I just switched that to y'all. How are y'all doing today? And it was an easy switch for me because I had never actually considered that anyone would be offended by the term, hey, you guys, what's up? How you doing today? But they were, and like I said, I don't think it was anybody on my team that mentioned it. It was my boss's boss. And that was great. It was a good lesson for me to learn. And I learned a lot about what you need to do to fit into certain organizations. And all organizations of all different types have those expectations. Our clubs, our churches, our fundraising organizations, our nonprofit organizations, every organization, every business, every entity has its own expectations of the people that are members of that and how they expect and how they will tolerate you to believe. I was listening to a story yesterday about a gentleman that had been basically kicked out of his church because he believed in and was learning about the law of attraction. Now, the law of attraction and religion basically say the same thing in most areas. Now, I'm not going to get into a big discussion or debate about this because what I believe doesn't matter. It only matters what you believe. But he was sharing the story of how he was actually demonized and ostracized from a church. He'd been 3 generations of his family had been preachers in this church, and he was a minister in this church as well. And he basically was chased out of his church and demonized because of any mention of the law of attraction. All right, I'm talking too long when I run into one of my alarms. So I lost my train of thought when that alarm went off. Sorry. The gentleman in the church. So whether we consciously realize it or not, every group, every organization has expectations of us. Let me ask you a question. if you're a business owner, I've been a business owner for a long time, but I also worked in corporate America. So I've gotten kind of this broad perspective of people's expectations. But when you become a business owner, it's interesting how different our friends and family are around us. And it doesn't matter what type business it is. I've been involved in a couple of network marketing businesses, which I never really pushed on my family, although I would have loved if they had been involved because the products and services were so awesome and made me feel so much better and really had a positive impact on my life. But I didn't push it on them because I know that's why I think any type of business that we go into sort of gets a bad rap from people. You either goes one or two ways. People will put a blind eye to it and they act like you don't even have a business. They'll go out of their way to not ask you about it or have you talk about it because they don't want to know, or they'll expect you to do what it is that you do for them for free. I can't tell you how many doctors and lawyers, actually my brother-in-law is an attorney, and I think everybody in my family except me expects him to do stuff for them for free. I'm like, no, I wouldn't expect you to do that for me for free. Now, I do appreciate the family discount. I'm not going to lie. Attorneys are expensive and I don't need one very often. But when I do, to do a contract or something, I totally appreciate the family discount. But I don't expect it. I don't expect him to give me the family discount, but I totally appreciate it. But when we start businesses, people go one of two ways. They either want it free and they devalue you totally, or they don't want to know anything about it because they're afraid you're going to hit them up to do business with them. Now, I find it fascinating that people will do business with a celebrity or somebody they've never heard of to support them because they're so awesome. But if you're in the same business, they won't support you. Mind-boggling. Mind-boggling. I think there's a different mindset between people that are business owners or entrepreneurs and people that are just going about their life living and going about and having jobs and things. And, just going about life the way they think they should or the way they've been taught that they should. There's definitely a mindset difference there and a different way of looking at the world and thinking. And actually, they've proven that in studies. They found that in studies of entrepreneurs and business owners versus everybody else, that we're more motivated by the things that we want and going toward pleasure. Everybody else on the planet is more motivated by avoiding pain. And there's actually been studies done on that. Don't ask me the exact studies because I can't cite them right now, but there have been studies done on that. And I find that really fascinating. They've also found that business owners and entrepreneurs are ambitious, and the vast majority of the population isn't ambitious. They might be motivated, they might be hard workers, but there's a difference between ambition and just living your life. I guess one's proactive and one's more reactive, and the vast majority of people live in the reactive mode, not in the proactive mode, unless you get into the group of business owners and entrepreneurs, because we're very action oriented. We're very proactive. We're creating things and creating change in the world, not just sitting back and seeing what new thing is coming out in the market. So that's it. Today, I am going to go get my nails done with my sister. My sister's been gone for over a month. She went down to Texas to visit my mom, and then she went and visited her beautiful grandchildren and her son in Florida. So she and her husband have been gone for over a month, and I haven't seen her, and I've missed her. So she called me and said, hey, you want to get your nails done tomorrow? And I said, absolutely. I need my nails done, and I want to see her. So I'm doing that. I'm going to get to work on the Women's Summit because I have been totally shirking my responsibility on that as I've been tied up in other projects. I've been doing the best I can to keep up with all my coaching students and everything else and all my obligations, and as I do this big project. But the Women's Summit, I'm going to be flying to get that baby done. I'm going to get it done. Don't worry. I will absolutely positively get it done. But I do need to do some things on that today to really get in touch with the speakers for this first summit. I think I've mentioned that there's going to be at least 3 or 4 now. But the first one, that's going to be the most challenging because that's the one I set the framework up for all the others. That's the one that I need to get, all of the big pieces in place of the puzzle so that the next ones will just fall into place. It'll just be a matter of getting the different speakers, their information, pulling it in, and then processing it. But once I've done it once, I'll put a system in place so that we can do it again and again and again and again and again. That's it. I hope you have an absolutely fabulous day. Whatever you're doing, make sure that you're doing something today that stretches your comfort zone and makes you feel good. Whatever it is, make sure you're doing something that makes you feel good, makes you feel joy, makes you appreciate that you're you and that you're alive and Now, I always do that by thinking about gratitude and the things I'm grateful for. And I am grateful for so many things. And I think that's why gratitude is so powerful. If we focus on the things that we're grateful for and that are working in our life, instead of thinking about the 2 or 3 things in our life that suck or aren't working, we're way happier. And I think the world wants us to be happy, even though it doesn't act that way sometimes, even though the people we love and care about might not act like they want us to be happy. They really do. And deep down, that's all we ever want. That's all we want, is to feel joy and happiness and to feel good. And so I say, go out, find something that makes you feel good today, and move toward that. Do that. All right, enough rambling. Have a fantastic day. And of course, I'll be with you tomorrow. Bye.